We are now 2 weeks into the Advent season, and to help us prepare for Christmas each week on the Advent wreath, there's a candle which stands for another theme of Christmas. And this week's candle is the candle of peace. Peace. Am I the only one who feels like peace is for everybody else but not for me? I mean, I feel like we all kind of feel this way because there are so many reasons that we have a difficult time experiencing peace in our lives. Ask any parent of a small child who just cleaned the house if they have peace. It happens every time. Ask anybody who found themselves on the John with no TP again if they have peace. I thought it was my kids. I didn't know it was the cat. Now, ask anyone trying to eat at a buffet bar if they have peace. No peace found there. Ask anybody who's been set up if they have peace.
Oh my Max, what did you do? Look at this necklace! What?
Yeah. Ask anybody who has rotten kids if they have peace. Now, I could go on and on with example after example of why there is no peace in our lives. So I think a lot of times today's candle of preparation seems at best to be a cute idea that's never really experienced. I mean, I get the first candle. That was the candle of hope. Now I get that. I understand hope because with Jesus' birth came the hope that God was fixing our sin problem. And he certainly did through the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. But peace? I don't know if I get that one. I mean, there was hope, but there was certainly no peace at the first Christmas. I mean, we talk about peace at Christmas, but think of the first Christmas. I mean, seriously, think about it. Very pregnant Mary and Joseph travel 70 miles to get to Bethlehem for a dumb government census. Sound peaceful? No. When they get there, there is no place for them to stay except in a barn with a bunch of animals. Surrounded by dirty animals, feces, and urine, the time comes to give birth to the Messiah. They wrap him up and stick him where the animals drool, and as if there weren't enough animals, some smelly shepherds show up with some extra sheep just to say hi. And then some little boy with a drum just comes beating the drum right after Jesus falls asleep. I don't know if that one's actually in the Bible, but it definitely is a song. Does that sound like a peaceful Christmas to you? Do you think people were like, "Hey Mary, how was your first Christmas?" And she replied, "Oh, it was just so peaceful. So peaceful." I don't think so. This was about as far from peaceful as you can get. What would a peaceful first Christmas have actually looked like? Well, I don't know. How about Mary giving birth in a nice clean hospital with lots of drugs that made it virtually pain-free? How about some family in the waiting room coming to see the baby when invited? And then maybe a few well-groomed, non-smelly friends come without bringing their pets to visit the newborn. I'm just shooting from the hip here. But the nativity scene that we put up in our houses, that would certainly look a whole lot different if we wanted to put up a peaceful nativity scene, now wouldn't it? Why would it look different? Well, because To the world, a peaceful life means a life with no problems, no dilemmas, nobody bothering you, no frustrations, and nothing to be angry or upset about. That's what a peaceful life is. A perfect job, a perfect car, a perfect house, a perfect spouse, perfect kids, and a perfect life. That's what the world says is a life of peace, and that's what the world tells us to strive for. And if we don't have that peace-filled life, then we're kind of dissatisfied with our lives, aren't we? So if you don't have it, what do? Well, you pretend like you do. You tell everybody on Facebook just how awesome it is to be you. Or you drown the feelings of inadequacy with chemicals, drugs, or alcohol. Or you live in denial, pretending like there isn't a feeling of being dissatisfied or lonely or scared. So in search of peace, we spend our lives pretending or masking all the problems in our not so peaceful lives in hopes of faking everybody out, thinking that we do have a peace-filled life. But it doesn't work. And it's frankly exhausting to try and hide all the things that we don't want other people to see. So when it comes to time like Christmas, when peace is supposed to be able to be found, we work even harder at pretending like it's not, like it's actually there and real. But we don't really find peace, do we? And the reason that we don't find it is because, well, quite frankly, we're looking for the wrong kind of peace. We're looking for a worldly peace instead of a godly peace. When talking about godly peace, in the book of Philippians, Paul says, Philippians 4:7, "And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." See, that's a peace that is incomprehensible. We're looking for quiet. We're looking for still. We're looking for stress-free lives. And we can't find God's peace because, frankly, we're not even looking for it. Have you ever had a kid that just wouldn't stop annoying you, so you convinced them to play hide and seek with you, and you told them to hide first, and then you would come and find them, and then you counted and said, "Ready or not, here I come," but then you never actually stood up off the couch? Yeah. You never. I'm the only one that has done that? Okay. That's okay. Yeah. I guess my point is, you can't find what you're not looking for. You know what I'm saying? And I think one of the reasons that we're not looking for godly peace is because we don't even know what it looks like. What is godly peace? Godly peace is a peace that transcends all understanding. Can we find any examples of that? Well, I honestly believe that one of the greatest examples of this godly peace can be found during World War I. World War I began in July of 1914, and it was actually predicted in the beginning to be over before Christmas that year. And sadly, those estimates were way off, and the war raged on for another 4 years. 16 million plus people lost their lives during this war. It was a bloody and brutal war. It certainly was a dark time in our world's history. The light had gone and darkness had come, and peace seemed like a thing of the past. In December of 1914, the war had already been raging on for 5 months. Now, the German soldiers had dug some trenches and taken up positions in the Western Front. So British and French soldiers dug trenches of their own just a short ways away. In some places, these trenches were no more than 30 yards apart. And in between these trenches was a place which was called No Man's Land. Occasionally, officers would command their troops to advance across this land, only to be slaughtered in their attempt. Dead bodies often littered this land, and trying to cross it, well, that would be the equivalent of suicide. As Christmas rolled around that year, the soldiers in the trenches knew that there was no break for a holiday. But on Christmas Eve, all was quiet on the battlefield. German soldiers actually placed candles above their trenches and on their trees. While the British and French soldiers were wondering what this meant, a soft noise could be heard in the distance.
Jenkins. Oakley. Knight.
In the midst of a brutal and bloody war, a Christmas carol had begun. And as German praised God through the singing of Silent Night, the Brits joined in and sung that beautiful song right along with them. The opposing forces continued to celebrate this special day by singing more carols back and forth to each side. How could God be present in such a bloody moment in our history? How could such a peaceful song be shared by two forces who just yesterday were trying to slaughter each other? See, that's the peace of God, which transcends all understanding. Peace that can show up at Christmas in the midst of a bloodbath. But one brave soldier decided that wasn't enough. He decided that God's peace was capable of even more.
Ein Briter kommt! Ein Briter kommt!
Jim?
Jim, don't do it!
Halt! Er ist nicht bewaffnet! Nein, Otto!
Jim!
My name is Jim.
Mein Name ist Otto.
Pleased to meet you, Otto.
Freut mich.
Rose, she's called.
Sie ist schön. Schön. Danke.
Happy Christmas.
Frohe Weihnachten.
really hits you, doesn't it? One brave soldier had faith in God's peace. One brave soldier decided to risk his life in the hope of bringing peace on this special day. On any other day, this would have been an immediate death sentence, as the opposing force would have gunned them down. But on this day, no shots were fired. More and more soldiers climbed out of the trench until there was an impromptu Christmas party in the middle of no man's land. Soldiers exchanged gifts. They played soccer. A barber from one side cut the hair of another. I think that this Christmas was only topped by the first one. Friends had been lost, families torn apart, lives destroyed. And all of this was still true, but for one moment, one amazing moment, God's peace was found. God's peace, a peace in the storm. A peace that you can't quite explain, a peace that would cause soldiers who were trying to kill each other to break lines on one special day to celebrate. That is a true godly peace. You know, we live most of our lives sitting in trenches that we ourselves have dug. We climb into this trench after we or our loved ones have been hurt, or when we've felt bullets flying past our head, or when we have grudges that we hold against people. And to be honest, frankly, people deserve our anger, disdain, and our bullets in return. And because of that, our enemy digs their own trench, sometimes just 30 yards away. And we can live our entire lives, sometimes buried in our trench. Why? It becomes comfortable to us. It becomes home. Let me ask you, who are you in a trench hiding from right now? Who are you in a trench sitting there watching? Who have you decided in your life that you could never have peace with? And maybe you're right. Or maybe, just maybe, you're looking for the wrong kind of peace. Maybe you haven't been looking for a peace that can still be found in a dirty stable with loud animals and smelly shepherds. A peace found in the midst of chaos. A peace that doesn't really make sense. A peace that transcends all understanding. Not a worldly peace, but a godly peace. A peace that can be present even when things aren't perfect. Folks, that peace is out there. But it takes bravery to find it. Just like it took the bravery of one young man in World War I to help it spread. See, what you need to know about these trenches is that they weren't in just one straight line. They were a zigzag spider web of trenches, nearly 475 miles long. And they weren't under the command of just one leader, but instead they were hundreds of trenches, each with their own leaders. This Christmas miracle, it wasn't experienced by all of them. It was only experienced near where this one brave man stepped out of his trench to bring God's peace to those around him. You see, where there was no one brave enough to step into no man's land, fighting continued as usual. Peace will only come to those who pursue it. And most of us never find it because we're not looking for it. You can bring God's peace, God's indescribable, impossible, amazing peace, not only into your own life, but also into the life of others. But only if you are brave enough to pursue it. Only if you are willing to climb onto the battlefield, sometimes in the midst of a hail of bullets, for the sake of God's peace. So I ask you this Christmas season, are you brave enough to seek for His peace? Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Take care. God bless. Hope to see you soon.